Oh, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. There we go. Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. Just want to check you all can hear me. Just good to have you in the window, everyone. Get out of here. Okay, so welcome to Boring Mastery Q&A, my friends. Excellent to have you here. And today we've got a good show lined up. We're doing some waltz, some samba, and we've got a bit of form and function questions about lead and follow. It's going to be real good. If you're joining in live, feel free to add some questions here or comments as we go along. But I'm going to get straight into it because I've got a class to get to myself. So let's hit up some waltz. Let's go. Oh, what is, hello, there's my back. What is going on? Okay, so this is from Farah. Sorry for the delay in getting our question to you. We had a private lesson on the waltz, and it's a very long thing here. She mainly worked with Peter, encouraging him to really fall more into the movement, not to be afraid of it, and to learn how to catch the fall properly. This is good. Overall, she was quite happy with our technique, which is nice to hear. My part was a bit simpler. I just had to follow and respond to Peter's fall by moving in the right direction. How simple. We both really enjoyed the lesson. It gave us a much easier, freer feel, better swing through the movement. That said, we noticed some of our great technique and alignment we've learned from you start to slip a bit. For example, in the waltz natural spin turn, while we have a lovely falling action and sway, Peter's heel lead is either somewhat or non-existent or not really happening, and it's not showing up as the left foot moves away from the toe of the right foot. On top of that, alignment has shifted and it's not quite right. We understand alignment can be adjusted depending on the figure and floor craft. I've also noticed that the stronger falling action when I step back, I'm finding it harder to turn my left toe in like I normally do. My foot tends to point outwards, even though I can still close nicely at the end. So a big question is, how do we keep this lovely natural falling movement without losing technique and alignment we worked hard on? Okay, so listen, when you put a question in, keep it more succinct. Yeah, a little bit tighter is good. The pre-frame is not really necessary, but thank you for doing that. Okay, so basically, the thing is with ballroom dancing, what's the order? So one of the things you got to remember, if we just look at the overarching problem that you're all going to have, we all have this issue, is that when you develop a skill, you get to a certain point of being able to execute the skill, and then somebody comes along and introduces a new concept or something you're more ready for, like learning how to swing better or how to change the swing in your dancing, or in this case, how to fall. And then when you add that in, it's like what you just were able to do completely falls away. So I always say, like, welcome the new problem, because sort of the new problem, if you solve that, then you develop a new skill and you're ready for like the new problem again, if you will. One of the things you have to remember is that you cannot change the foundations. Okay, you can't change the foundations of dance. So if you look at painting, you need a canvas, or let's just say some form of surface to paint on. All right, if you want to get weird about it, you can paint on anything really, but you need a brush or something to put the paint on with. It could be your fingers, but you understand what I'm saying. The paint goes on something and you make a pattern. Doesn't matter how you do it, what instrument you use, you're generally doing those three things if you're talking about painting. So with dancing, there is going to be foundations you can't get away from. Now, when you improve a skill in dancing, you sometimes destroy one of the other things you just worked really hard at doing. In this case, like maybe your footwork. And I've noticed that with dancers. So often, unfortunately, in dancing, and you'll notice this in the studio, I think when you sent through the video of your son dancing in the waltz, they have great top line, good movement happening, and then at the sacrifice of having, good quality technique. Now, the thing is about good quality technique, I'm talking about like in the feet and that sort of thing, is that doesn't win competitions, right? So that's one of the problems is you're not, it's like less than 10% of what matters. The point of saying all this is that if you improve that area with the stuff above working, you actually will be a better dancer, right? So there will always be a roadblock there if that isn't worked on. So mastering your feet, absolutely fundamental. Now, when you learn to fall, why do you fall in dancing? Can anyone tell me what the hell, as I pour my coffee, which I just made, because for those of you tuning in, this is like 4:30 in the afternoon here. So this means it's morning for me as a dancer, because now I get into it with the dancing teaching. So let me ask you, what is falling for? What is falling for? What do we do without falling? Okay, we fall and catch. I always remember teachers saying you need to have courage as a lady to fall backwards and catch yourself. But all it is basically how you move. So if I want to walk this way, I don't lift my leg and move. Your body falls, you catch with your legs. So it's not really that complicated. It's not ground shattering learning to fall. What's difficult about falling is swinging your body in the correct way, right? So we call it metronomic action when you swing. That's a downward action there, like that, like a metronome. And then then we can have pendulum swing. So what happens with our ballroom dancing is we fall to move. So what might have happened in this case is you learnt to lower better. All right. And as a consequence of lowering and falling better, you had nicer movement. That's great. But if you change your feet whilst you do that, that's where you have the issue. Okay. So I would say, just to make it simple, correct footwork, drive forward on the heel properly. In the idea of moving, this is a good reminder for everyone. Let me just, where's my camera? I'm gonna switch it up here. Just give me a second. So look, when you look to fall, all right. So if I'm wearing these sneakers because I just want to have a bit of white on there to make it a little easier if you're watching this on a little phone. It's a bit weird. Don't judge me too hard, but it was actually more for you all to be able to see. Okay, so when you fall, you're actually lowering through your knees. Now, this is what I want you to focus on, everyone. The lowering in conjunction with falling is what you need to really dial in better, because rising is actually the easy part in ballroom dancing. It's the lowering and the falling that's actually quite difficult. Now, we fall at the end of beat one, the beginning of beat one, so beat, that part, but then you use your knees to help you drive forward, right? And then you swing your body through that and then, rise depending on the figure. So when you do that, you're changing the mechanics of your body, and that's where your feet can start to do weird things. So, for example, my problem when I started developing my movement was my foot would turn out too much when I went forward. So I'd do reverse turns like this all the time. And so I had to remember that forward is still forward until I move into the next step. Yes? Okay, so when you go backwards, Thara, you're going to find that your toe turning in is just to aid the CBM. That shouldn't change just because you're falling. So what you're going to need to aim to do through both of you is remember to turn through the balls of your feet. So it doesn't matter what you're doing in terms of falling, rising, all that sort of thing. When it comes to turns, which is a bit of a different problem, you turn through the ball of your foot. So if you go backwards with the toe turned out, you're not going to pivot or turn correctly or whatever, right? So if I'm doing a reverse turn and I go backwards, a natural turn and I go backwards, toe heel, I need that foot to turn in just a little bit to be able to take a side step, right? So if I go backwards like this, my hip is in the wrong direction and I can't go into my side step. You understand? So that little turn into the foot is a nice articulation to aid the turn. All right. In terms of the falling and catching principle, honestly, that's also the art of ballroom dancing. That's where you're going to find how much should you do? Is it too much? Because there's a maximum that you do when you ballroom dance, right, between the two of you. So anyways, this week I'd like you to just simply focus on, and by the way, much easier if I can see a video. I keep saying that because there's what you say is theory, and then what I think is going to be the problem versus what you think, right? So we just so we're on the same page, a little easier if that happens. And of course, you can also join live, and then we can look at you maybe from the studio, or I can help you live in that sense. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about there? Uh, So keeping that lovely natural falling movement without losing technique. Oh, I needed to mention something about alignment real quick. So alignment is just basically where your feet are going in the room, right? So yes, you can underturn and overturn and do those sorts of things to move things around the room. But realistically, just think about alignment as a way of your feet being, driving around the movement, like a bit like a go-kart going around a racetrack. You want your feet to sort of curve, to swoop, to move, to shape, to aid where your body is going to land. Okay. So you fundamentally, I think it's seems a bit of a misnomer. You can't really lose the technique. What happens is you end up changing the technique because you're trying something new. So I'll just come back to the same thing, is that to develop the new level, you persist with the new thing you're trying to do, which is falling, whilst keeping true to the actual fundamentals. That's the thing to do. Okay, let's look at, I think, was there another waltz question? No. Okay, so here we go. We're going to hit up some, what's up, Mr. Germany? This is for you. But, oh my Lord, back to the back again. Hold on, hold on. Okay, so, by the way, say hello in the chat window if anyone's joining in live. Awesome to have you here. You can watch this on the YouTube channel by clicking the link within the community area and it will take you out. So the video is unlisted on the channel though, so you won't find it if you search it. Okay, so 3 questions from Mr. Moritz from Germany. And by the way, your camera should be coming soon. It should be coming soon. Hello everyone. First of all, thank you for the great masterclass. Lately, I've been trying to master my whiskers in the samba. I've seen your very 2 helpful videos on YouTube. Thank you for those. I have a few questions. My first is about the bounce. How deep do I go forward into the knee and how far back with the pelvis? Very good question. One I will actually answer. So, because you can definitely go too deep. So I'm just going to quickly do something here. Let me just, we're going to do it like this. Good, yeah, I should be able to switch between the two now. Yeah, cool, that's better. Right, okay, so very easy. So basically knees to the toes, about there is good, right? And then that's your knees, so that's your bounce. They're compressed on count and straighten on 1, and 2, and 3. That's your standard bounce, right? Pelvis, as you, on the lower part, the compression, the pelvis tucks under, and then as you straighten, the pelvis goes to neutral. When you go up, you're going to poke it back a little bit. That's called extended, right? So the pelvis goes extended, neutral, contract. Okay. So as you bend the knees, contract, then go back to expand, and then contract. Boom, boom. So, and 1 and 2. Okay. So the trick is not to go down too low because you'll look like a doofus. You'll look like you're bouncing like a good old kangaroo here in Australia. The thing is, we don't also bounce to the point where it's hugely up and down. Okay, so you talk about like absorbing it, but fundamentally that's it. I do need to preface this though to help you understand that not all bounces are created equal. So we have 8 rhythms in samba. All right, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, sorry, there's 11 here with different beat values. So timings and beat values matter, and not every step needs to bounce. So typically speaking, anything that's counted 1 or 2 will have a bounce rhythm, and that's where you're going to find your sort of the normal standard bounce. Some have no bounce at all. Now let's go to your second question. It's not actually, you got multiple questions within the same one. How can I absorb the difference in height better in my body? Do you have an exercise for this? Yes, do more whisks. That's the exercise, because when you're that's the exercise, right? Like you want to do the main, what's it, Occam's razor, right? Like the simplest answer is the true one. Just do more of the thing you're trying to do better at, right? So when you move to the side, my knee is over my toe, so I'd say I've got a little bit more flex there. Okay. Now as I cross behind into the Latin cross, which we're going to come into in a second, there, and then back down, contract into the front one. Okay, so how do you absorb it? Well, the absorption happens because like if I tilt my pelvis back a little bit, that can help absorb the height, right? So if I don't do that and I go up just through the toes, that's going to push me up to my maximum stretch, okay? You do want to have like the spine going diagonally forward too, right? So like up and down. Okay, so angle is probably not good. There we go. Boom, bum, bum. All right, so now absorbing it can come from contracting the pelvis, right? So the more that you can contract under, the more you can absorb that height, but you just do it in front of a mirror so you don't look too strange. I wouldn't worry so much about the absorbing, just make sure you're not going too high and low because that's where it can look a bit weird. Hip action, we'll get to in a second. Okay, so my second question for Latin cross, if I'm doing a Latin cross on the which is like when you're crossing behind, say, in a whisk, and then I put my front foot back on the floor, so it's when you transfer and lower. Am I still in the Latin cross and my knee in the hollow of the front? Okay, yes. The answer is yes. So when you do a Latin cross, ladies and gentlemen, so first of all, depending on the figure, it depends on where that foot goes, right? But back toe is turned to the front heel there. That's your Latin cross. Now the knees, so no daylight, right? So I'm not plie. So that back knee is tucked into the front knee for sure. So you'll feel that ball or toe, depending on the figure, all right, up and then down. So now you can practice this. This is an exercise you can do. So you can go into your Latin cross, hold on to like lightly with your hands on something, okay? And then contract and put the knees forward, tuck your pelvis underneath. As you straighten the leg, the front leg, because remember, the front leg is what you're rising off on. So that there, now my knees are still together and now my pelvis will come out at the back. And then I'll tuck underneath as I lower on the front foot there. So, so that'll be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So what happening there, the pelvis going forward and back. We haven't talked about the rotation, which I think is your third question. So I'll just read that out. My third question about the hip action after the so which movement is initiated by the rotation of the hip to the outside? Bringing the foot out of the cross next to the front foot, or the step to the side afterwards? Not quite sure what you mean, but how long does the hip stay with the extended leg when stepping to the side? How extreme is it visible? I know they're long and technical, but they help me a lot. Okay, so keep it simple. So when you go to move that way, so we've got the bounce is one thing. The hip rotation, okay, if you're going to your right, your hip has to, as you bounce upward, as you rise upward, your hip is rotating around and then that moves you. So what you should feel is this sort of opposition, like your rib cage is going there, your left hip is turning that way, and it sort of pulls you into the movement. So if I make it exaggerated, not with my shoulders, but this side of my body, you'll see that pulling me like this. So if you put it together, the hip rotates and you move 1 and then you land. 2, and then I rotate to the right, my body moves to the left. So so long as I'm staying on the spot, I won't need to do that. But as soon as I go to move, I'll rotate the hip and move. How much? Well, it depends on you. You can do too much. It depends how flexible you are. If it looks retarded, it is, right? So if you're looking like 1, it's too much. So you have to remember that sort of this knees to the hips is the area we're trying to rotate and move. And it's really hard. It does take a lot of time to do good whisks. Look, please remember, basics do not mean they're easy, but all advanced dancers can make basics look easy. And that's the difficulty, is the word basic really messes people up. So it takes years to do good basics, all right? That's if they ever become good. Some people may not do good basics ever. So it is important you focus on what makes them good, all right? But play with that. So I'd say your exercises, just do the Latin cross, up and down, up and down, up and down, and then whisk to music like I did on that video. And, you know, if you're young and fit, you'll be able to smash that out and you'll notice very quickly an improvement. Record yourself when you do it and you'll notice a huge, huge improvement over the course of about a month. Okay, hello, my back again. Dear Lord, we have to just change it. Okay, so here we go. Form and function. So, I believe, hold on, who's this one? Excuse me 1 second. I just need to see with some video reviews coming up in just a moment. Okay, this comes from, and I can't remember, so I just want to get the name right. Okay, so this one comes from Thomas May. Hello, Thomas. Thank you for your question. Let's have a look here. Okay. Hi, Vaughn. Unfortunately, I can't be online during the session, but we'll see it later. So how has partnering changed to the days of Alex Moore? You say it works in the way that the lady dances on her own, using the suggestions in the man's lead. Alex Moore would rather not have said that. In one of his books, he wrote about the following: she, the lady, must have a mind of her own. Oh, sorry, must not have a mind of her own. Oh, feminists wouldn't like that one, would they? How far can we don't even care about that, do we? How far can we take this concept that the lady dances on her own? Can she use her own perception of the music ideas for styling anything that is not suggested by the man? and actually make more of the dance than he had in mind? Thank you, Thomas. You know, it's a really good question, and here's where the nuance of dancing is, okay? Because it's yes to both of us and no to both of us. There's actually like a happy middle ground, and that's where when I said you have to realize that there's a when the man so what you're talking about here is yes, and I've said that though. The lady that you always need to lead a lady like she has no idea what's happening. And so even if you have a routine, I tell the lady you have to forget you have a routine and you have to listen with your body. Now, the problem is that I've learned over many, many years, there's always the high-end theory, like the fantasy transcendental world of what would happen if no mistakes occurred in dancing and everything just worked out perfectly. The lady would follow you effortlessly, wouldn't she? But that's not reality. It's actually quite difficult. So often ladies, what ends up happening to them is they get super heavy, they block you as the man, so you might be leading and then they block you and then you get really physical and try to move them out of your way. So although she shouldn't have a mind of her own, in the sense of that she should just be able to use her body to follow what you do. And in the perfect world, your body is like communicating perfectly, all the turns, all the timing, all the rise and fall, patterns, floorcraft changes, etc. And she's just responding without an issue. There is a space in there that's really important to understand. How does a lady do that? So the lady does that when she herself is a very skilled, balanced individual. First of all, she'd have to know all the steps, wouldn't she? That fundamentally exist. She wouldn't have to know the order they're in. She'd have to know they exist, though. So you have to know a whisk is a whisk and a chassé is a chassé. She has to know they exist. Now, I have danced with some ladies who've never danced before, and I can lead them to some things, but I couldn't make someone do a full reverse pivot, double reverse spin into like a reverse turn or an overswing. They couldn't follow that, right? So what has to happen? She has to be a very good balanced dancer. Now, to do that, I mean, she's done her own solo work. I know you're not talking about that, but she has had to have had experience dancing on her own, getting her body up, holding herself right. When she goes to partner with a lady, with a man, what the man has to do is initiate the movement. The lady has to respond to the movement and dance her goddamn movement. That's the part that comments like that don't talk about or go into consideration of. Because what happens with many ladies, at least this is my experience dancing with lots and lots of people, is that ladies wait for the man to dance them. It's so frustrating, right? And so even if she knows what's going on and she's a good dancer, a lot of times it's just wait. And so there's this space where she isn't leading the movement, but once that lead happens, she goes, right? She gets her body to move. How much? Ah, that's where it's up to the man to determine. And that's the nuance, the space in there. It's so subtle, this area, okay? Um, and it's also the area you could have a discussion on forever because I could be wrong about this. I'm not, but I could be wrong about this in terms of what we're aiming to develop here. And I know that with ladies who struggle with following, they often have control issues. So they're wanting to be safe and they're wanting to be made sure that they're not going to be bowled over. So this is where the man has to learn to be very delicate in the lead, be strong and assertive, but super like, you got to be on your own 2 feet as a man. You got to really know how to lead comfortably, how to actually adjust your steps for the lady you dance with as the man. There's so much in it for us guys. It's quite crazy, and it's nothing to do with the routine and pattern and timing. And that's what we always focus on, isn't it? And so it's a whole different level of sensitivity. And then the lady herself, in that moment of being invited to dance a step, she has to move, but she can't move so much that she now pulls away from the man and is disconnected. Okay. So you can play around with the idea of the lady, completely forgetting her steps, and then the man and you changing them as the man and leading her to different combinations out of nowhere. You can also play around with the idea of I'm going to lead these 3 figures in a row, but as a lady, I want you to really feel how much energy I'm going to make you give these steps. So you can actually try dancing them with different energy, different strengths of movement. In Latin, you can really feel that because in Latin, I'm going to say straight off the bat, the man is 100% responsible for, you put the lady on her feet, you bring her off her feet, you start and stop her, you're responsible for the speed, changing the direction. The lady never spins herself. The man always makes sure the lady is spun from his lead. He shapes the lead, right? It's all there. All of it is to do with the man controlling every part of that. Ballroom dancing is pretty much the same. So what you're saying here is very true in the sense of she shouldn't have a mind of her own. However, I think not much has really changed in modern day dancing. In fact, a lot of people dance separately now. So they're two people dancing, trying to dance, their steps together. And really what here is all about, the highest point of this is that the lady can literally relax into the man and he can put her into any step and she'll follow it. And like I said, when I danced with Anne Glebe, I noticed immediately she could tell where I was about to go in a step, but when she danced it, it helped me and it pulled me into the movements as well. So she had a mind, she had not a mind of her own, but she was aware of it, right? And she would say to me, Vaughn, following is the art of invisible leading. And I was like, fair enough. So anyway, I'd be interested to know your thoughts on what you take of that, because it's a big subject and it's a difficult subject, and it really is hard depending on the level you're at. Because if you're a professional dancer like me, you are, and you're dancing with another professional lady, there's an unspoken rule. We already understand this is about to happen, and then we need to figure out how much we can actually do together. It's quite a cool thing, really. Okay, let's get into some reviews, and then we'll finish up. Hello, Dave. Whoa, hold on. Here. No, I got this one. One. Okay, that's right. I think just. Why is she stepping forward? Hold on. Here, why? I just need to just check something here. Oh, she's in. Okay. Is there no reason? Okay. I don't know what step that is, just a nice little entry. She should be stepping backwards if you can do it. So when she goes backwards after that little turn, oh shit, hold on a second. Let me just get this reset. So like she does a little turn, da, da, da. If she can go back on the left foot to be able to put her body into the right position, that would be great. If she could swing back, see how you go with that. That's that little bit. Let's keep going. Then you'll come around. No, that's yeah. So one. Okay, so nice. What? Here we go, Dave. Good to have you back, buddy. Nice movement developing, sir. Now, I want you to work on your frame this month. Okay, get a nice line in your left arm, particularly. In fact, this is what you can do to practice that. I want you just to dance with your left hand in the right position. Now, where should it be? Elbow slightly in front of your spine, arm 45-degree angle just below your arm line, and then the wrist held back just a little bit like that. So you're holding her, okay? Hold with that left hand and keep it in that position, and right arm by your side, and then get her to hold your hand, okay, and hold where your arm would be, your right arm would be, and you're going to have that down, or she can have her arm to side. She should have a full frame. You're going to have just the left hand, and I want you to practice that. And all your turns, I want you to think of that, the left part of your body coming around her more. Okay. Still work on the heel drives where you can, but you're going to find those turns, you're going to be able to close her off a bit more. She needs to turn a little bit more with you too, if you can do that. So there are some spaces where, so as a lady, this will come back to Thara as well, like when we look at ballroom. The lady's job is to rise up towards the man, right? So when she turns, every turn she does, she needs to bring her body up towards you. So the right side of her body, bring up to the man. So that creates that nice curve. See my curve? She doesn't need to do more than that, right? But she's losing it. And the reason she's losing it is because she needs to rise up through her leg and her body towards you when she closes her feet, okay? So if you can get that popping and cracking, you're gonna notice, wow, you can stay a bit better together. Now with that left hand, when she's staying with you, as you lower, you'll be able to turn around each other with more ease, okay? So give that a shot, and give that a shot and see how you go. Okay, cool, thanks, Moritz. Yep, dope. Let's have a look here. Elizabeth? Okay, hold on. What's your question, Elizabeth? You got okay, I think we need to work on sway posture. What are your thoughts? How we develop this? Another 2 comps in May. Graham, where are you looking? Where, are you looking for like the chip stand or the beer in the corner? What? Why is your head turning to the left? Keep it straight.
5 couples.
That's fine. Okay, Elizabeth, don't have such a droopy right arm. You need to have that right elbow at a nice level place. Basically, elbow to elbow needs to remain like a straight line as the lady. Okay, so not this forearm dipping downward. Okay. By the way, you got a nice drive developing, you two. Nice swing going forward. This is good. You're definitely looking. Look, you're looking better than some of those other couples. Okay, so there you go, Mr. Left Head. Right, what is this? What is this? What is this? No, 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 Graham. Okay, so let me explain something here. When you guys do natural turns, okay, gentlemen, you might sway, but let me explain what you have to do between the man and lady. It's actually not the same, so everyone should understand this if you're looking at sway. So as the man, you do your natural turn, your head doesn't stay here as the man. Central. If anything, you can curve your body to the left from your sway and have it up towards the lady. So I might be looking like, not at her, but my headline, if you notice that from the sway and the rotation, is there. If anything, yeah, it's not straight, definitely not looking leftward, right? It might look towards her a little bit, then I'll lower, and you have to straighten up. So I wouldn't focus on sway, but what you have to do as a lady, remember what I said before in Dave's video about his partner. So what happens with the lady with sway? You do not match the man's sway. So when he's swaying to the right and you're swaying to the left, you don't sway leftward like this. I'll give you the secret that no one's going to tell you. Are you ready? What you do, ladies, is you rotate your body. So assume that you're here. Okay, so your natural toe goes back on your left foot, right? So 1, 2. Okay, so you're rising up on between 2 and 3. Now, as you close, rather than dipping to the left, turn your body to him. By rotating your body, you get your right side up towards him. Okay, I'll do it this way. You get your right side up towards him. Your rotation balances his sway. So you're swaying to the left a little bit, but you're not actually like this. I need to explain this. It's very, very complicated sway. I mean, it's easy to understand, but it's technical because you're doing it differently to balance each other out. So sway is an inclination of the body to the left or right away away from the inside of a turn. And I know that sounds really wordy, and it is because it's British technique, right? So it's a lot of specific words. What that means is as you're turning, right, I'm moving onto my right foot, my body is balancing and swaying to the left. Now, where do you sway from? It's not the waist, because that's broken sway. So broken sway, like a triple chasse and quick step, it's not to the inside of a turn. So we can shape right and left from the hips, and it's not really to balance a movement, right? So sway is to balance a movement. So where we sway through is like from the ankles through the sides of the legs, through the hips, up through the body. So it creates like the letter C. If you look at side on here, whoom, there. See how I'm going up like that? So there's my sway. It's actually going like a curve this way. Now, if you did that to match the man, you're going to look crazy. You're both going to be like tilting like wildly. So the man might be swaying to the right. You see that gentle curve through my body. And then as I lower, I straighten everything up because you never step forward or backwards with sway. You only do it to balance a turn. So as the man is creating his sway going up, and I'll do it so, I'll do it as the man first, then as the lady, so I can make this clear. So there's step 1, right? Step 2, and then as I go up on 3, I'm swaying and curving there. All right, now then I lower and straighten up and go back for whatever's next. Now, ladies, what you would do, you'd go back on 1, point on 2, you're going to turn your body up towards him. See, my right side is going towards the man. I'm not turning away from him, and I'm turning my left side towards him. And now that balances the sway. Now you'll notice I don't have that giant curve. You won't hear this talked about because it's very complicated. Also, I don't think a lot of people understand the difference. So even in the technique book, it will say, your sway would be straight left, left, or straight right, right. Where, why, how much, who does what is where is never explained. And that's why I do these videos, because that's what the teaching's for. And if you haven't learned it from a teacher who knows what they're talking about, you don't get it from the books. You understand? So what you want to think about is not necessarily sway, but I would like you to try to turn your body. This is for Dave's partner. This is for Thara. This is for you, Elizabeth. As the man rises up, like on that natural turn, you are going to rise up and turn towards him, but always keep your common center. Do you know what that is? If you don't, you need to make sure you go through my courses, right? The common center is your point of contact. You will notice when you rise up towards him, you will create a better shape in your upper back and body. And that's one of the things that's missing in your video. For all you ladies, you need to shape your body more. Now, what do you shape your body? How do you shape your body? It's a response to the man's shape, right? Like his frame. So Graham, your frame is good. What you got to think about now is like providing a space for the lady to dance within, right? And so as you rise up together, she can like follow that shape. With your head, the reason I make a joke of that is so you understand that looking to the left for the chip stand as you're turning to the right is just weird technique. Like, I don't care if your coach told you to do that, because I had a coach who told me to do stuff like that, and I was like, this is odd. And I was turning to my right, and like my head was going the other way. I was like, why? It doesn't need to do that at all. In fact, I'll turn my body and just let the head go with it. And then there are moments you will shape and incline the head. All right, that's fair enough. That is relative to the movement. You know what I mean? Rather than just a fixed thing. So the easy thing for you to remember is to keep your head in the central position. And if you want it to be to the left, it inclines to the left a little bit, just owing to how you're going to hold your upper back and body. Okay, so if I'm here, notice I'll create a little bit of, I'm not turning my head to left. Do you see the difference? That's turning. There is no turning the head. Your head either inclines to the left or it inclines to the right, guys. It does not turn left and right. That doesn't happen in Borum. Okay, you understand? So I can incline my head to the left, I can incline my head to the right as the man. An oversway is a good example. So if I go on an oversway, look at my head. Throwing oversway will be there, and then I'll turn my body and I'll turn my head. I'm really inclining it though. My head is inclined, you understand? Not turning. Anyway, important distinction to note because it does make a difference in your balance. And we all know without balance, bad dancing, okay? So I think when it comes to the competition side of things, we have a look here again. You see, I like the way they develop. See that you got to lower them stronger together. Oh, your rotation. 1. So you can see that spin turn. Let's give them a round of applause. That spin turn, okay, here's your homework for the month. Spin turn better for everyone. So when you lower together, what should you do when you lower? Can you tell me? You generate CBM. Here's the rule. You step and swing. So step and swing, and then, sway at the end. However, when you go to pivot, step forward of the spin turn, I want you to turn, then step, right? So I want your body to start doing that. See how my body started generating that turn already? Then create the actual pivot. Why? Because the problem you're making, if you see what you're doing, and by the way, I've been guilty of this, I know this. This still happens with some of my students that I dance with now because they're still, like, as much as I try to pull them into it, they're still trying to learn to lower and drive forwards. This is quite a difficult thing I'm asking to do, right, at a bit lower levels, yeah? So as I lower, I'm rotating my body, okay? So if I did an extreme version of that, here's my frame. So as I lower, you'd see my right side almost turning a bit more than my foot would be moving, right? So I'm going to do that, then step, and that generates the energy. So you need that on the 4th step of your spin turn. It needs to look strong, and then you rise out of it, 1, 2, and you slow down through the rise. Please remember in ballroom dancing, everyone, you slow down through that rise, right? Rising actions are you going up a hill, like when you've gone on a skateboard and you go down the ramp and then up slowly? That's the rise, right? So that's where you go slower. Anyway, so with that in mind, everyone has a bit of a task to do for the month. I want to thank you for being here. It's been a lot of fun. Feel free to send in more videos. I'll be making some updates and improvements and changes over time to things, so keep an eye out for all of that. And I really appreciate you staying with me. Whatever the world's doing out there, that we're still working together, improving, and trying to do the very best we can, because there's always progress over perfection. So I want to thank you very much, and I love being here and working with you. It can be sometimes difficult for all of us, can't it? But the main thing is that we turn up and we put in the work as best as we can. Thank you, Dave, for your videos and your contribution, Moritz for your comments as well, and of course everyone else for their time.